Thursday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. We have significant severe weather ongoing across the Midwest today with a derecho occurring from Missouri all the way into the Ohio Valley. We'll get to the details of what you need to know about this dangerous line of storms. And then the pattern breakdown this weekend with extreme heat relief that is on the way, especially across parts of the deep south that has been under some very strong heating over the last couple of days. And then we'll get to the tropics. They are turning active with Hurricane Adrian across the eastern Pacific Ocean and a new tropical system that forms near the Mexico coast. We'll get to those details later on in today's video. But first up is that derecho complex up here across portions of the Illinois Valley and the Midwest. This is an impressive line of storms that did produce 80, 90 mile per hour wind gusts as early as 9, 10 o'clock this morning Central Daylight Time. And this is going to be diving to the south and east as we go over the next several hours. And it's all revolving around the northern and northeastern periphery of this upper level high pressure system, or this heat wave across the deep south. And this heat is really starting to fuel these storms. These are today's high temperatures. We're well into the triple digits across the Ozarks, down here into Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas through Arkansas, and again into Texas and Louisiana. Some areas like the Tulsa region, we could be closing in on 110 degrees for a high temperature this afternoon. And when you factor in those dew points and the moisture out there, this is what you get for your heat index values. There could be areas in the lower Mississippi Valley, like the Jackson, Mississippi region, Shreveport, Little Rock, Memphis. Yeah, some of these areas could be getting as high as 115 degrees Fahrenheit for your heat index this afternoon. So this is some serious heat. And as we were mentioning yesterday, this is a classic pattern for derechos and progressive derechos to develop. You have an anchored high pressure system and heat wave to the south. The airflow around it is clockwise, and if it's strong enough in the jet stream and all the ingredients come together, then a derecho or two is possible, and we are seeing one of those occurring as of this morning into the afternoon. So the Storm Prediction Center has gone ahead and upgraded to a level 4 out of 5, a moderate risk of severe storms across portions of south central Illinois, with that enhanced risk dropping to the south and east toward the Louisville region, getting very close to Indianapolis and just north and east of the Paducah, Kentucky region as well. The expectation is for these storms to weaken slowly but surely as they press to the south-southeast this afternoon and this evening across the western Ohio Valley and down toward the Nashville region. Then later on today, we'll have more severe weather back here across the western high plains with an enhanced risk from Cheyenne down toward the Denver region. We could be seeing some bigger storms back here as well. But looking at the general hazards of what these storms could bring to the table today, this derecho complex across the Illinois Valley getting into the western Ohio Valley, we do have a 45% or greater probability of 75 plus mile hour winds. Like I did mention, we already have wind gust reports of 80, 90 miles per hour back into west central Illinois earlier on here today. And then we have the big hail potential as well. We could be seeing hailstones over 2 inches in diameter with that complex as it drops to the south and east, but more storms initiating back to the west. The Cheyenne region getting into southwestern portions of Nebraska, northeastern Colorado, and this does include the city of Denver. We could be seeing a higher probability of some 2-inch or greater diameter hailstones here later on this afternoon and this evening, as well as a tornado threat as well. So we're going to be continuing to watch this threat as it evolves over the next couple of hours with both of these areas moving forward. So late this afternoon, this is what the radar could look like. This derecho will continue to press off to the south and east through Indiana, southeastern Illinois, eventually entering in toward the Louisville region, Paducah, Kentucky, and then dropping more southward with time as it approaches the eastern periphery of that upper level high pressure system here that is anchored across the southern plains. Then the expectation is for storms to initiate across the western Great Plains, across western Nebraska, northeastern portions of Colorado, into southeastern Wyoming late this afternoon. Big hailers here. We also could be seeing a couple of tornadoes and as well as damaging winds. Then this tonight will evolve into a complex of storms. Probably not a derecho over here, but we still could be seeing some damaging winds, some large hail, and a couple of tornadoes through the nighttime tonight after sunset. So we need to be paying attention for both areas as we head through the day today, as things will be changing very quickly out your doors. So definitely want to stay weather aware, have multiple ways to get watches and warnings, whether it's a weather NOAA radio, any smartphone device, a laptop, anything you can get to get watches and warnings, very helpful. But then as we go into Friday, the heat will continue. High temperatures back into the triple digits up here towards St. Louis, much of the Ozarks region in Missouri, and further to the south across much of the Dixie Alley region and the southeast. It will be hot again on your Friday, and the heat indices will be back to 110 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit across the lower and middle Mississippi Valley for your Friday afternoon. This is going to feel another complex of storms because the storms back to the west will start to billow up again during the morning into the afternoon. The eastern side of this area that the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted with a slight risk will be later on in the day. So the storms will start back here into the Great Plains, and then they'll march eastward through the day. Around midday, they will be across southern Iowa, northern parts of Missouri, back through the Springfield region again into Illinois, and then late in the day into the evening hours, they will be across the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley and entering into the East Coast by the time we get into Friday night. Then as we go into Saturday, the same thing holds true. Another complex of storms will try to develop back here near the Ozarks region and then press eastward through St. Louis and getting in through much of the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys before ending into the Carolinas and Virginia later that night. So definitely want to have multiple ways to get watches and warnings across this region. We do need the rainfall, though. There is no mistake about that. We do need the rain across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, and we will get some of it in some areas. We have some heavy rainfall swaths up here across Nebraska, southern Iowa, northern Missouri, especially into central and southern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, and then dropping southeast on the eastern side of that ridge across portions of Kentucky and Tennessee. Zooming it in here, yeah, there's some big winners in here. There are going to be areas that get over 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. That is going to be a given. There's going to be other areas that unfortunately miss out on the heaviest of rains. Yeah, you could get a half an inch of rain, but when you're really dealing with a severe drought, a half an inch of rain is just a tease, and it really doesn't do much to help out with the drought conditions. And the new drought monitor is out today. A widespread moderate drought is really starting to take over the Midwest and the Great Lakes region, even a severe drought becoming much more numerous, if not widespread. And the extreme drought category here with the reds are starting to spread into southeastern Iowa. So I am very concerned that if areas to the north here, like Wisconsin, Minnesota, northern Iowa, northern Illinois, doesn't get any rain over the next couple of weeks, this could be the area where some extreme drought impacts could start to develop as we move in toward the 4th of July timeframe and then into the middle of July. So that will be something to keep an eye on. But with the heat relief on the way, we do see that. With the ridge starting to back off further to the south, it still will be hot across the Gulf Coast and the southeast. There's no doubt about that, but not nearly as hot as what we've been seeing the last few days. We'll see a new ridge of high pressure build across the west coast, the Pacific Northwest, as early as this weekend on Saturday, July 1st. And that really continues into early next week. We'll dampen the ridge across the south. We'll see some relief from the triple digits for the most part into early next week, right on time for the 4th of July there from Texas all the way to Florida. But that ridge of high pressure will be building across western Canada, the Alaskan regions, and then all the way down into the west coast as we get into early next week. So looking at the high temperatures on Saturday, we still will be hot. There's no mistaking that. There's still going to be an area or two that could get up to around the triple digit mark, but not as widespread as we go into Saturday. As we go into Monday, you see many areas in the 90s, but the triple digits for the most part is non-existent as we go into that Monday time frame. And for the 4th of July, on Tuesday, July 4th, we see widespread heat, but not as extreme as what we have been seeing. We see upper 80s here. We see mid 90s into portions of the Central Plains, and then maybe some upper 90s further to the south. But for the most part, the extreme heat with the triple digits or upwards from there is pretty much gone as we go into that 4th of July time frame. Looking at precipitation from the 4th of July into the last few days of the first week of July, going from the 4th through the 8th time frame, it is good news that we see above average signal for precipitation up here from the northern Rockies, dropping east-southeast bound into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and hopefully we can get some decent rains and some soaking rains in some of these areas in the moderate, severe, and extreme drought impacts as we get into the early part of July. And we do start to see some signs of that, but unfortunately, we just can't get that jet stream further to the north into the Green Bay region, Madison, Wisconsin, the Twin Cities. It's just kind of stuck across the middle of the country, and we see these training complexes of storms really almost every couple of days across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Tennessee Valley. So there could be some flooding concerns moving forward with repeated rounds of complexes of storms into the first full week in July across the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and parts of the lower Midwest. Now turning to the tropical weather update, we are watching Hurricane Adrian across the eastern Pacific Ocean as of this morning with Tropical Depression 2 just behind that right near the coast of Mexico. But first looking at Adrian, this is a hurricane still across portions of the eastern Pacific Ocean, nowhere near land, and it's not the best looking hurricane, to be honest with you, on the infrared satellite imagery with looking at that, and it is weakening. Over the next couple of days, this will weaken to a tropical storm and then eventually a tropical depression as it moves over some cooler waters here into the eastern Pacific. You know, the warmest of the waters are further toward the coast of Mexico and the Central Americas. The further west these systems get, they're going to be running out of steam with the cooler waters starting to develop there, just especially west of the Baja of California. But the system behind that could have a little bit more, legs with it. With the warmer waters here closer to the coast of Mexico, we got Tropical Depression 2 here, and this is going to start to develop right near the coast there and move up toward the Baja of California over the next couple of days. And this will likely turn into a hurricane as we have hurricane warnings and watches already posted for the western coastline there of Mexico. And then this will start to turn up there towards the Baja of California before turning westbound and again weakening by the time we get toward the 4th of July to a depression status again because it enters those cooler waters. And the next named storm will be Beatriz across the eastern Pacific Ocean. That will be the next named storm after Adrian. So that will be something we'll watch as well. So let's look at the model guidance on this, see how strong it gets and everything like that. Looking on Friday here tomorrow, it does get down to around a 996 or 997 millibar low, so getting into that hurricane status very quickly as soon as Friday night, and then it drops back to a 1002 millibar low by the time we get into Sunday as it encounters less warmer waters and gets into some cooler waters up here as it passes just to the south of the Baja of California. Still mainly remaining over the open waters with the center of low pressure. Looking at the GFS model, it is very biased toward a stronger system and much further to the south, so I'm kind of disregarding this model, to be quite honest with you. The Canadian model is much more in line with the European. Obviously, there's some differences in location with the center of the low pressure system, but in general, it does weaken it along with the European model. So I do expect it to turn into a hurricane, then quickly drop back to tropical storm status Saturday into Sunday, and then eventually by early next week toward the 4th, it will be back to depression status, if not just completely evaporated off of the ocean as we go towards the early of next week. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for these daily weather forecast updates. And if you like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, including Southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics, this is absolutely free to do. Just press the subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Also, very important to like the video, the thumbs up button down below the video. The more of those we get, the more information we get this out to more and more people. So definitely press that like button down below. I do appreciate that. If you want additional weather forecast updates, including this video and this channel, follow me on Twitter down in the description below the video at hweather420. I do update on that platform fairly frequently as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today's video, supporting the channel. I do appreciate. Remember to subscribe down below if you have not already. It's free to do. Like the video by giving it a thumbs up. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Turn on post notifications in case I do go live for severe weather the next few days, or the tropics coming up as well with Hurricane Adrian and then eventually Hurricane Beatriz developing in the eastern Pacific Ocean. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I will see you all in the next video.